had a big payout or had all that sort of clout within it.
Yeah, it really bookends our season. This is the last big show of the calendar year for Strongman. And now I will say the Strongman calendar never ends, right?
Right.
We don't get an off season. If I get 2 months out of the year where I can deload and not lift heavy, that's a good year. Just because of how things are spaced out. Like typically our calendar is Arnold Strongman Classic in March, World's Strongest Man in May or June, the Shaw Classic in July or August, then the Rogue Invitational in October. And then sprinkled within there, we have our qualification series for World's Strongest Man as well, which is Giants Live that happens over in the UK. So we're doing all these shows. On average, a high-level professional strongman is competing anywhere from 3 to 6 times a year.
Dang.
When that's peaking for these big shows, that's traveling, that's doing all this stuff. So, but the year comes to a head at the Rogue Invitational. Like I said, it's from year one, it was the highest payout of any in the history of strongmen.
Mm.
This is the only competition of the year where first place sees over 6 figures. So there's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of clout. There's a lot of pride when you get that invite to this show. I mean, I'm unbelievably honored to have been at the first Rogue Invitational Strongman competition and was there for 2 years. I'm not competing this year because I'm actually competing the following weekend at America's Strongest Man. So going for that title. And that was just a strategic move on my part for what I want to do with my career. But it really is to get that email to be invited to the Rogue Invitational. You really are considered one of the top 10 strongest men in the world when you get that invite. Because like I said, when they send out in these invites, they're looking at the entirety of the 2023 Strongman calendar, where guys placed, how they performed over the year, and choosing the 10 best athletes to put out on that floor.
So badass. That's crazy.
Any predictions on the winner?
Yeah, so we'll run through the competitors list. So we have Mateusz Kieliszkowski from Poland coming in, who he has been riddled with injuries over the past few years, but his prep has looked really good. Tom Evans is a newer face on the pro strongman scene. He made a really big impression at the Arnold Strongman Classic, taking 5th place this past year. Did really well at the Shaw Classic as well, so he's definitely a name to watch. He actually played for the Green Bay Packers as well. He has a really great athletic background. Oleksiy Novikov, who won it last year.
Yep.
2020 World's Strongest Man as well. We have the Stoltman brothers and Tom and Luke, who have been around for a long time. Tom, 2-time World's Strongest Man as well. Max Boudreau from Canada, who's been at the Rogue and Arnold. The three other Americans, Trey Mitchell, Bobby Thompson, and Evan Singleton. All 3 guys could be really dangerous on any given day. Evan Singleton, this is his first time competing at a Rogue competition. So he's never been to the Arnold. He was invited to the Rogue Invitational last year but couldn't compete. So this is his first time here. He has a very interesting style of competing. He is that very type A, always hyped up, yelling, screaming type of athlete. Not a slight to him. I love him. He's a really good friend of mine. I'm very interested to see how the CrossFit audience takes on to that personality. I'm excited to watch that. And then the final big name is Mitch Hooper. Mitch is having just an absolutely stellar year in winning the Arnold Strongman Classic, winning World's Strongest Man, taking 2nd place at the Shaw Classic, now coming into the Rogue Invitational. Now, Mitch, he stepped onto the scene at World's Strongest Man in 2022. That was really his first big show. Took 8th place in his first World's Strongest Man appearance, which is just outrageous. To make things even more outrageous, ever since that show, he has not been off the podium at any competition he's entered. I think when looking at these events, how the competition is set up, I'd be hard-pressed not to say Mitch is going to win. I just think when you look at how well-rounded of an athlete you have to be at this competition, he checks all the boxes. Looking at who's going to fight for podium spots, Evan Singleton is one of those guys. Like I said, he is intense. He trains really hard. I would love to see him put together a great show. Bobby Thompson has been nagging with some injuries over this prep, but always looks really strong. And he's one of those guys that always seems to pull it out on competition day, right? Like he's one of those people that like his prep might not look the best, but then he just shows up and says, oh, okay, you were just fooling us the entire time. Okay. And then Tom Stolman. He's, two-time world's strongest man. He's always in the mix. So I think there are I think there's arguably like 5 guys that could be on the podium at this show. But I like I said, I really don't see it going any other way but Mitch standing on top of the podium at the end of the weekend.
You can't ignore Mitch's name if you've been following the sport for the last couple seasons. He's everywhere. He's truly everywhere.
The guy right now, and he has an amazing athletic background. He was a long drive champion. He's run marathons in the past, and now is just completely taking the pro strongman scene by storm. He just got married. His wife is now pregnant. Like, life is going great for him. And like I said, with these events, the level of athleticism you have to not only perform really well, but the way the competition is set up is there's some pretty big gaps in between events at this show. So it's how do you take on your recovery in between events? How do you fuel properly? Emotionally and mentally, how do you navigate the lulls in between events? And he's just somebody that I think can do it really, really well.
That's a really interesting point that you bring up. And I know we've talked about it on the show a bunch before, John, but it's always so interesting to me. The more I get to know the elite athletes of CrossFit, the more I am consistently surprised by the fact that they think just like the rest of us constantly. Like, they just seem superhuman when they step out onto the competition floor, but they have the same nerves and the same questions and the same mental blocks that we have when we are doing the open in our affiliates. The same nervous poops too. Yep. I'm just saying, It's all the same shit, quite literally. So it's interesting to hear you say that too. Like, how do they navigate the lulls physically and mentally? Because if you did poorly on your last event and now you've got 3 hours to sit around and think about it, how do you come back from that to step out onto the competition floor again? And it is difficult to imagine, quite literally, the biggest, strongest men in the world in their own minds, maybe not feeling so big and strong. That's crazy to think about.
Absolutely. And it's so real. How do you package it up, toss it behind you, move on? Because tying it all back, it's like that next event could cripple you. Mm-hmm. So you can't let it bother you. You have to really put it in the back of your mind, move on, and it's okay. What am I going to do to make sure this mistake doesn't happen again? And how can I set myself up in the points to really be successful in this show?
That's crazy.
I was also going to pick Mitchell Hooper to win because he was the only name I recognized.
There you go.
The only one. So congrats, Mitchell. We're all rooting for you, buddy.
John's second favorite strongman.
Yes,
that's right.
I only recognize the name because he does a bunch of photos with Danny. They've been hanging out recently.
Yeah, they're both tier athletes, so they're getting along great right now.
Rob, are you going to compete next year, given opening your business and doing all the other things you've got going on? Are you going to keep on the comp? Okay, great. You're like, let's just do it all. Fuck it. Who cares? Pile it on. So, let's get a puppy too. Do it all.
As I mentioned, so my plan this year has really been to go for the title of America's Strongest Man. This is actually my first year competing for that title as a heavyweight. I competed as a middleweight competitor back in 2014 and 2015 when I was weighing felt 230 pounds.
Baby Rob.
Yeah. I took second place both of those years, and I'm excited to go for the title for the heavyweight men and win that title of America's Strongest Man. That's happening the following weekend. So the first weekend of November at the Olympia in Orlando, Florida. So the beginning of this year, I had set some personal goals, and that was one that I circled on my calendar that I was like, you know what? That's really a title I think is really special. I don't think many athletes have been able to bring a lot of clout to that title, and it's something I want to be able to do. And that's what I put all my eggs in the basket for this year, is really just putting everything into this prep to put on a great performance and win to be America's Strongest Man.
That's a cool title.
It is pretty dope.
Yeah.
almost as cool as Rob the Brand.
Rob the Brand.
Jesus.
Rob
Almost.
the Brand, America's Strongest
Here
Man,
we
has
go.
a really nice ring to it. You could change your
America's
entire
strongest
Instagram.
brand. Yep, there it is.
You're really lucky. It occurred to me with about 5 to 10 minutes to go in the show that I could have actually changed the name on the screen, and I didn't. And I kind of have podcast regret now, making me sad.
He should have
We're
done
gonna
it from the moment he said it.
I'm gonna get a text tomorrow morning. Hey Rob, the episode didn't record. We're gonna have to redo it.
I'm gonna have to do it again.
Well, I could change it in post-production if I really wanted to.
Yeah, there you go.
You could just make it in post-production, just like right over your face.
The whole thing.
Brand.
It's such a
Really
Well,
enforce it.
All I know is when you open your affiliate, we're going to find some time for Nikki and I to come down, and we'll do a live recording there, and we'll do a little grand opening, or
Love that.
probably be after you're open, but we'll do some sort of meet and greet and have some fun.
That's our plan for like kind of the summer. We want to get up off the ground, get our feet wet, get our members comfortable in the space, right? New space. Gotta make sure everybody's feeling their oats and feeling good about it. So once we're up and running, we have some solid membership. Our plan is this summer to have a little rock out party and grand opening event. So we're planning towards that in the summer of 24.
So
Love
fun.
it.
We're there.
Yep.
We're totally there.
Sick.
Yep. Can't wait. I'm already planning my next year's worth of trips, deciding what I want to go to and what I don't want to go to, and yours is on the list of ones I want to go to. So it's fun.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I am honored.
Fun.
The brand is honored to welcome you to Massachusetts,
Yes.
John.
Really perfect.
I want to know what gets cut from the list. What events are you like, you're not worth the John Woolley's time?
Oh, it isn't that. I mean, certainly don't want to make it sound snobby. I mean, like there's the balance of, are you return on your investment? What are you getting back from it? And
True.
It's occurred to me recently that some of what you get back from these things is what you're giving to them. But you follow me? I'd really like to do Wheelwad as an example.
Yeah.
I think I can help that community, or at least be a voice in it. I don't know how much I can help, but I can certainly raise up some of their issues or talk about what they want to be heard. And so I'd like to get to that one. And so then I look and go, all right, well, you got Wadapalooza, which is fun. You got the games, it's fun. But really, all I get out of that is people stroking my ego, and I don't need that. So should I save that money and put it towards something more worthwhile, like some battle cancer events, or I don't know. And so I'm just trying to balance what that is. Of I still want to have my ego stroked a little, but I don't think I need to do that. Yeah, I don't need to do it 4 times a year. So right now, I can tell you I'm absolutely not going to semis. That's already off the list. I'm debating which one do I want to drop, Waza or the games. I'm leaning toward dropping the games, but not convinced I will. So,
well, then there's California Wadapalooza next year too, right?
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, you get 2. Yeah, but I definitely don't want to go to California. No offense, California, but all offense. It's just expensive. I mean, California is beautiful, but man, it's pricey.
Yeah.
And not that Florida is super cheap, but you got to
travel
make that
these
trade-off.
days at all is not cheap at all. But then also next year you'll have all the separate events.
Well, we have conversations like this, and I'm like, well, maybe I should go to Rogue next year because I really like watching the strongman. That's fun for me. Like I don't love watching competitive CrossFit, but when you throw strongman in, it makes it far more appealing to get both of them.
It's true. He doesn't. I know it's funny to think about. But he doesn't love like live competition.
Well, here's what I don't like. And this is why Rogue is a special event. What I don't like is 4 heats where 2 or maybe 3 of the heats are inconsequential. Yeah. I like to watch the race for who's winning. I like these smaller events where you have 10 people.
Yeah.
Or 20 people even. But,
there's more on the line
top.
Every event.
Yeah, exactly. When you got 40 people at the games, it's too much for me. I don't care about those bottom 20. No offense if you're in the bottom 20. You're super fit, but you're not going to win. And I want to watch like that final race. So, but strongman's different because, like I said, every rep you guys do could be your last. And no, seriously, I know it's not going to be, but there is that like kind of danger factor of watching. Like, holy crap, this is unreal what they're doing. I can't even comprehend it sometimes, and so it's just so much more fun to watch.
Well, I'll tell you what, John, when you come up for our grand opening, I'll put you through a strongman workout. You can lift some stones, you can do some log presses, you can do all the things, so you can
Yeah, make
taste of
them
what we
do
go through.
Finkel fingers. Yeah.
I hope when we're lifting stones, we start with the lacrosse ball, because that's right in my wheelhouse.
Full arms around it. Just holding it close.
Yeah, definitely not my wheelhouse, to say the least. But it's fun to watch and fun to at least attempt. So I'm game.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I will give it a shot. Well, dude, thanks for joining us and giving us insight into Rogue. I know people were really excited to go down there, and I don't think Nikki and I have ever really actually talked about what the Strongman event was going to look like prior to tonight. So this has been really fun and educational for us. So thank you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. It's always great every time I get to share a little bit of my love with different audiences and talk about some insight and give some people something to watch, right? Like, I think a lot of people can be like, oh, cool, Strongman's on. But, if you get a little bit of background of like what we do, how we do it, and the athletes behind it, throw some interest into it and get people excited. It's just how we grow the sport.
Yeah, for sure. It's better when you have a good understanding of what's actually happening, and then you can barely but start to comprehend just the massive effort it takes to actually compete at that level.
For sure.
Yeah. Hey, also, not for nothing, but I got a commitment from Danny to do a Danny and Rob show together. And
what?
So I mean, at a date to be determined, so we got to figure out when it's going to be.
That's going to be stupid.
Yeah, well, I
don't know if I can handle all of my favorite people, all three of you and me on one show. I don't know if I can do it.
We're going to have to set some ground rules. I mean, let's be honest. There's going to be some real ground rules for that show.
Time limit, 4 hours.
Well, you can stick the rules. Clear your schedule for the afternoon.
We're not trying to make John's post-production job difficult.
It's probably going to be like a 4-parter, not to mention.
John has to cut 75 minutes of just like insanity out of it anyway, probably, so we'll be fine.
No, it'll be fine.
I'm excited. That's going to be great.
All right, guys. Well, thank you again, Rob, Nikki. Great seeing you, as always. And for everyone listening, go check out the Rogue Invitational. Looks like it's going to be a lot of fun this year, and you can come back at us when Rob's picks were wrong. So